You are watching the DocTalk show.
Welcome back from the break. You're still watching the DocTalk show. I'm Fiona Atebo, your host, and with me is Dr. Bruce Chirenga, a pulmonologist at Makerere Lung Institute at the Mulago Hospital. Those are the doctors who look after our lungs. And today we are discussing the health effects of biomass gases, of cooking and burning things like firewood, charcoal, everything that we use to cook in our homes. So we are discussing the effects on the lungs. Now, can you tell us, Dr. Chirenga, which are these other effects on our bodies that these gases have?
Yes. So the biomass smoke, like I said, part of it are particles. And these particles, they gain access to your body, of course, through the lungs. But once they're in blood, they can go anywhere. They will go to the heart, they will go to the kidney, they will go to the brain. So in the heart, it has been shown that biomass smoke increases risks of heart attacks, of strokes, and hypertension. Okay.
How do they exactly do this? Just in summary, because I'm wondering how the gas enters and then will affect the heart.
Yes. So what we see entering is actually the gas, but essentially these are particles.
That smoke that enters.
Yes, they are particles.
Okay.
Very small. We call them PM 2.5. Actually smaller. In the books, they say these PM 2.5 particles are smaller than a hair follicle, like your hair.
Like one piece of hair.
Yes, one piece of hair. So when you inhale them, they will gain access to your blood through the lungs because there's a rich blood supply in the lungs. And now they move to all parts of the body. So the mechanism, how they cause these heart attacks and stroke, is through inflammation because these particles are foreign to your body. So your body will try to work on them. And while it works on them, it causes inflammation.
So it causes as the body tries to fight them, there's some, trying to fight an infection and it reddens, becomes red and like an infected body part.
Yes.
Okay. So we actually see heart attacks, strokes.
Yes.
And you said
hypertension.
And hypertension resulting from this smoke, because this sounds like cigarette smoking.
Yes.
Or use of tobacco. So that means it's as bad as this. Okay. And then do we have any other effects on the body that are not lung related, not cardiovascular? You mentioned that the smoke goes in, enters the blood supply and accesses the rest of the body.
Yes. So there are other health effects.
Okay.
Some of them which have been reported very commonly is intrauterine growth retardation.
A pregnant woman with a baby and the baby does not grow well just because of this smoke?
Yes, because of their exposure to smoke. Stunting, where people do not grow to achieve the expected height for their age.
Okay. So those of you who are short, please look out for what your mothers used to cook when you were young. Maybe you are stunted. Yes.
And the other one, which is becoming very topical now, is impaired lung function growth.
Okay.
That the children, when they're exposed to biomass smoke, you may not see COPD because it takes time to develop COPD.
Yes.
But these particles, they reduce the rate at which their lungs are growing.
Okay.
Maybe.
So we are talking of children who are already born, not in the uterus.
Yes, already born.
Okay.
And maybe to put a little more detail, you know when the lung is growing, it's just addition of the air sacs, the alveoli.
They keep more air sacs coming together.
Yes. And there are studies which have actually shown that children exposed to biomass smoke, they add far less air sacs onto their lungs for a given point in age.
Okay.
And
so their lungs are already poorly grown, developed?
Yes.
And then what does this end up becoming?
So at the end of the day, these are the people who will develop chronic lung diseases when they are adults.
Okay.
Much earlier than other people of their age, sex, and race.
If I may ask, what is, for the general population, what is the impact of a poor lung function on my life? If I have my lungs, like you're mentioning, the children's lungs are not well functioning or they are poorly developed, what's that impact? What's the problem that they get?
You get very many problems. One is you are less physically fit than the people who have normal lung capacity. Meaning, as you know, through the lungs, we bring the gas, which is used to burn the energy that we get from the food.
Okay.
So these people, they have smaller lungs, and so in essence, they burn less energy and they are less fit.
Okay, they can't do much with their bodies because their lungs are not taking in enough oxygen.
Yes.
And I want to believe it also affects academics, it affects everything we do, because the brain, every other body part requires oxygen to function. The heart requires oxygen to function. So if the lungs are not really doing their job, taking in enough oxygen, then things are not working. We don't want to make it look like all is gone for everybody. Now that you have been using firewood, you've been using cow dung and things to cook, and you've had this energy and these gases in, is there hope? What can we do now? Now, are there any interventions? What can we change? We are now in a modern society. We can do better. Since 1986, things have been changing. So we are supposed to be able to afford better things like than firewood. So what is the best, what would you advise people to do?
The solution to biomass smoke exposure is use of clean energy.
Yes.
And these are things like gas and electricity.
Okay.
So if you use those, you will have sort of exposure to biomass smoke within your household.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, within my house. True, but then we are living in Uganda. We need to be really realistic. Not very many Ugandans, actually just a percentage of Ugandans can afford gas and electricity to cook in their homes, especially in the rural areas. Even in the urban, you mentioned those settlements and slums. So what options do we have for people at a level where they cannot afford gas and electricity?
Yes. So in areas where you cannot access clean energy, there are actually solutions that have been innovated.
Yes.
One of those solutions are the clean cook stoves.
Okay.
They are called clean cook stoves.
I think these are the ones that they are using to run the campaign of Chuse Mfumbayo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how do they actually function and reduce the issues that you're explaining?
Yes. So through engineering designs, certain types of stoves have been developed that produce less emissions, especially the particle emissions. And they cause less exposure to biomass smoke that is generated from cooking. There are experiments which have been done internationally, but also at Makerere University.
Oh, good.
At the College of Technology. And
I see you're studying so many things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our colleagues there have actually tested these stoves in a lab, and they have actually shown that they produce less emissions than the normal traditional cooking stoves.
Okay.
Now,
so they reduce the exposure of these smoke particles to our bodies.
They reduce the amount of pollutants that are produced.
Okay, excellent.
So after they have done that experiment, we now had to take it to the people to see if these reductions in the pollutants can transform into tangible benefits.
Okay.
The other thing also I need to mention is that although the clean cook stoves reduce emissions, most of them actually, the emissions are not below safety limits, but they are much lower. For example, a stove could reduce from 300 particles in a cubic meter of air, that's how we measure it, to around 70 from 300.
That's such a big change, about 75% reduction.
But it's still above.
Far and above.
What is
the safety levels that we expect?
The safety levels actually for the small particles, I told you, is 25.
25 per cubic
meter of air.
Cubic meter of air.
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned that you've done studies. You took these stoves now out to the communities.
Yeah.
And then they actually did reduce, they reduced the smoke particles and the amount of these pollutants that we have. But I would like to know, when you introduce something new to people who are already used to doing something else, change is very difficult. How have you seen this happening? The behavior change of changing from I don't know how easy these stoves are to use, my usual firewood, and now you're bringing a stove. It might look beautiful, but how has the behavior been? Do people use them actually?
Yes, actually people use them and they liked them. Maybe I can describe this project a little bit.
Okay. Where was it done?
In Masindi district.
Okay, all right.
So in the Masindi district, where we have done most of our studies on this work, we selected 100 homes.
Okay.
And in these homes, we provided them the clean cook stoves. Of course, as doctors, as you know, by the way, clean cook stoves have other advantages, saving energy. Okay. Which the energy people really, also they have a story to tell. But from the health story which we followed,
yes,
these are 100 homes. We measured symptoms at the beginning of the experiment. We measured their lung function. Okay. We also measured the level of pollutants in their homes.
At the baseline, before you started the study?
After 2 months, when we had given the stoves, and after 4 months.
Okay.
In summary, what did we observe? We've observed that actually the clean cook stoves had a significant impact on the pollutants in people's homes. Okay. But also, there were surprising changes. The symptoms which people had, almost all of them disappeared.
Oh, wow. So that means this is reversible. You reduce the pollutant.
Yeah, it's too early to say that, but that's what we saw. Okay. That so people who had cough, they had no cough. Oh. The red eyes disappeared. The headaches disappeared. Oh. And also there were some small improvements in objective measurements of lung function. Okay. So in a way, I think there is a solution that clean cook stoves can help. Okay. But I think what we need to move to is to have more cleaner cook stoves, but come up with the strategies to have cleaner energies in people's homes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Chirenga. This has been very enlightening, personally to me, and I'm sure also to all our viewers. So health, we have health effects, and we have health effects that are acute, the ones we get when we're in the kitchen right there and then, but there are those that we don't see, that we call chronic, that go with time. They manifest after a certain period of time. Like we've seen, you're a pregnant woman, you're cooking using these gases, and the baby inside your womb actually cannot grow normally just because you're using firewood and charcoal to cook. So thank you very much. And we've seen the magic bullet is to use clean energy, which is gas and electricity for cooking. But most of us cannot afford this. And if you cannot afford this, we've been told there are options like the clean cook stoves that have been studied and that can reduce this. I do not know how much they cost. I do not know where we can get them, but I want to believe they're available on the market to be able to save us from these long-term effects. This show has been made possible by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands in partnership with GIZ under the Energizing Development Program. Thank you very much.